It is a great honor and a privilege to introduce Rachel Fletcher. Your maiden name was Landesman. We're here in your beautiful home in Jerusalem. And Rachel, you are a survivor from Hungary, but you were on the Exodus, on the ship, the Exodus, the iconic ship, and you survived the Shoah. So could you tell us a little bit about your roots, your family, and how you managed to get onto the Exodus and come to Eretz Israel?
Okay, I was born in an area that changes hands all the time, which Karpato Rus, and a place called Kolachava. It was a village, but it was quite big, and there were quite a few Jews living in that village. But as you know, there was no parnassa in these places. And I had uncles in Budapest who lived in Budapest, and they took us to Budapest and found a job for my father.
Can I ask, when were you born?
1937. I just had a birthday.
Mazal tov.
Yeah, I'm 88 years old. Yeah.
And can you tell us a little bit about your parents and your family and growing up? What you remember?
Well, as I said, my father needed a job, so we moved. But when we lived in Kolachava, my mother used to sew clothes for the Ukrainian ladies. They had special outfits, and she was a dressmaker for them. And as a payment to her, they would be babysitting for her so she could do her work. My father didn't have a trade. I'm not sure exactly because I was too young, and when the war ended, I was, I think, 8 years old, and I remember a lot about my background, but I didn't know what my father did or what my mother did, because as a child, who was interested in that? But anyway, in Budapest, my father did have a job, and our life became a little better.
Can I ask you, how many siblings did you have?
We were altogether 5, but one boy that was born before me, he died before I was born. Then we were 4. I had 2 older sisters and a younger brother.
I think you have a picture on your phone.
I have a picture of my sisters.
And you the small.
I'm the little kid there.
And what were the name of your sisters?
One name is Henchi, and the other one is Batya.
And who are the 2 other girls in
Those were friends of my sisters who also came from our town, and they were in Budapest. So this picture was taken in Budapest.
And can I ask, Rachel, when you grew up, do you remember grandparents or uncles and aunts, extended family?
I remember my grandparents in Kolachava. They stayed there. So they had 4 sons. And my father was the eldest. And then the next brother had 9 children. And then the third one had 5 children, and the youngest had 7 children. So it was a huge family. and cousins and uncles that I don't know, but I remember these uncles. The one with the 9 children, he was the only one who survived. With the 5 children, none of them came back, and the youngest, he was taken first. I just remember that we were taken from our homes into a school. I was probably 2 years old or something like that. And this, with his 7 children, was taken to Galicia because somebody came back from there and told us they were all shot into a river. So my family, they all, none, very few of them survived, except for this uncle who had the 9 children. And he went back to Karpata Rus. He got married and he had 4 more children, and they came here when the revolution in Hungary happened. But I don't have any contact with them. I don't know where they are. I just know one of my sisters was in contact with them, but she died, so the contact was lost. And I lived in Canada, so yeah. So.
And Rachel, growing up, did you come from a religious family?
Yes. We, in our town, every Jew was religious. There were no Chilonim there. Yes, although my father was shaven, but yeah, we were all Shomrei Mitzvot. Yeah.
And do you have any memories of that town?
Of this town?
Yeah.
Yes, it was a beautiful place. Right in front of my house was a river, and in the back there were the mountains. It was a very, very beautiful town, but we weren't liked by the non-Jews. For instance, on Sundays, Jews were not allowed to go out because they were going to church. So we had to stay in our homes when they went to church. But in some ways we did have good relations, and in others we didn't, from what I can remember. I remember my grandparents, we lived near the river, and they lived on a hill, but right next door to us. So when we had, sometimes the river would flood our house, so we had to escape through a window and go to my grandparents. Yeah.
And this you remember?
I remember this very well. I remember, for instance, there was a bridge, but it was about this wide, and it was a Pesach, and all we ate was, latkes, which we called chremslich, and my mother would make these latkes, and I would come and take it and go across the river. And then at one instance, my mother came out and said, we were speaking Yiddish, Ruchele, be careful. And I said, yes, mother, straight into the river. And it was during Pesach, when the snow was melting, the river was overflowing, and I was drowning. But one of the natives saw, and he came into the river and saved me. Yeah, so I remember that very well. I remember very well what it looks like.
So a non-Jewish person, he saw you?
A non-Jewish person. Actually, my mother said that he had a sack on his shoulders going to the mill to grind for flours or something like that, for flour, and he threw it on the ground and jumped into the river and saved me. Yeah. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been here. Yeah. So, and then my family went ahead. My sisters went ahead of us to Budapest. Then my mother with my brother went to Budapest, and I was left with my grandparents. And I was the last one to go to Budapest with my father. So it was not easy there either, but we had a few okay years. Jews were accepted in Hungary. We didn't, it wasn't obvious, anti-Semitism wasn't obvious until the Germans came in. And then...
Well, what year did you go to Budapest?
What?
What year did you leave your home and go to Budapest?
I don't know, because we never discussed these things. Holocaust survivors, from what I understand, didn't talk about what happened to them. So I just know that one of my sisters was in concentration camp. She was taken to concentration camp, but I don't know how my mother survived or how my sister, the other one, survived. So because we never discussed it, I just know how I survived. That's all I can tell you about how I survived.
So do you remember going with your father to Budapest?
Yes.
And you remember leaving your home?
Yes. I remember coming because, where we lived, there was no electricity. There was no electricity, there was no plumbing in the houses. We took our water from the river. So I saw all this light, and also we were walking upstairs, and I said to my father, Tata, megait sim boydem? Boydem is a Yiddish word that they call here in Israel this thing where you keep your, I don't know, there are boydems here. So they all thought that was funny. It became a joke of the family that I said I'm going to the boydem. And then
Did you speak Yiddish at home or
Yiddish.
Hungarian?
Yeah, Yiddish.
Did you know Hungarian?
Well, I spoke to my sisters Hungarian. Once I learned very fast. Kids. So I spoke Hungarian in no time. And to my sisters I spoke Hungarian, but to my mother, always Yiddish. Yeah.
And in Budapest, did you have family that you stayed with?
I had uncles, but they rented a place for us. And that's where we were right from the beginning.
Do you know where in Budapest?
Where? Sure. It was, I went there now, and the street was called Dobutsa. So
is it in the Jewish area?
It's where the ghetto was. That's where the Jews were concentrated, and they also made the ghetto in that area. Yeah. So that's where I lived. I even remember the number 19, and it was very close to that famous shul.
The Dohani shul.
The Dohan shul. Yeah. So I lived on the corner of Dobutsa and Shiputsa. Yeah. When I said some Hungarian words now, when I was there, they were laughing at my accent. It changes, just like it did in Hebrew. When I left Israel, I was speaking Hebrew like everybody else, but there, my accent changed.
And when you went back, did you remember that this is where you stayed?
Yes.
And did the apartment, it's still...
No, it's not there anymore. No, because I remembered exactly what the house looked like, and it wasn't the house where I lived, and the whole street changed.
And did you go to synagogue? Did you go to, when you were...
Well, we didn't go in, just on the outside. we looked at all these
But when
places.
you were small, when you went
To shul?
to shul,
Yeah, because we had to carry my father's, there was no eruv, so we had to carry my father's talis and his,
do you remember which shul you
No,
you went?
no, I don't remember. That much I don't remember because it wasn't important to me. You remember things that are important.
And in Budapest, did you go to kindergarten or?
Yes, I went to a Jewish school where we supposedly were supposed to learn Ivrit, but we didn't. So I went to grade 1, and then the war came.
And the home you were staying with, it was with your parents and your sisters?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
And your brother?
And my brother, yes. And then at one point, my mother had difficulty with taking care of us. She liked having babies, but she didn't like to take care. It was actually my sisters who raised me. And at one point, she took me back to one of her sisters and left me there together with my brother. And then my aunt was not very nice to me.
Was this in Budapest as well?
No, this was in where my mother was born. It was called Berezov, a town called Berezov, and her sister lived there, who had twins. She gave birth twice to twins, all boys, but one twin passed away. So I was there, and my aunt put me on a chair, and I had to mix something on the stove while she went to talk to neighbors or something like that. And a spoon fell on my hand and made a deep, deep burn on my, I don't have the sign anymore, but for years I had a mark. And when my mother came and saw that, she decided to take me back to Budapest. And also my brother, but she couldn't travel with 2 kids. So my brother was left with my aunt, and I was taken back to Budapest. And in the meantime, the Germans came in, and we tried to get him out of there, but we couldn't. And that's how he ended up in Auschwitz with all his cousins.
How old was your brother?
He must have been about 5 years old, something like that. But my mother always thought that probably maybe some German adopted him because he was blonde and blue-eyed. So he was gone, and I always felt very, very guilty that I survived and he didn't, and that my mother took me instead of him. So for many, many years, I would wake up and think about, why did I deserve to survive my...
It's so sad.
Yeah. Anyway, we were very close. My brother and I, wherever I went, we were very free. Nobody knew where we were during the day.
What was your brother's name?
My mother's?
Your brother?
Isaac. And we stuck together everywhere. Yeah, so he was gone, and I, as I said, I felt terrible about that.
Rachel, can I ask, when did you finally know that he was taken to Auschwitz?
Oh, after the war, we heard all the people from our area. They were all just put on trains and straight to Auschwitz and straight into the ovens. The children, none of them survived. They were all taken.
And this was in 1944?
44, yes, in 44.
So if your mother wouldn't have come to collect you, we wouldn't be here today?
I wouldn't be here. No, for sure not. Yeah. Yeah.
Did your mother speak to you about your brother or?
No. As I said, we never talked. But what she thought always was that maybe he was adopted because he looked so much like what they said is good blood. You know, I was in Germany for 3 years after the war, and when we would travel on a train, and I was with my mother, she would look at all the kids and would think that one of them is her son. Yeah, so I guess she lived with guilt also, but we never talked about it, so I don't know for sure how she felt about it. But she always said that whatever God wants, that's what happens. You know, she made peace with that.
And when you went back to Budapest, how long did you stay before when you went back to Budapest?
Soon after that, the Germans came in. Yeah, and immediately Jews had to give up all their jewelry, most of their money. They had to go to their offices and bring their jewelry, and then they made Jewish houses where Jews could live, and only in those houses. So from my house, where I lived, on Dobutso 19, I had to move to another place because that wasn't designated as a Jewish house. And the Jewish house had a star of Magen David in front of the house saying that is a Jewish house. But non-Jews could live in the house of Jews if they didn't want to move. So we had to move, and it was in an apartment that belonged to a rabbi. But the rabbi was taken, and only his wife was left. And she rented out her rooms. So in this apartment, there were 3 elderly ladies, anyway, they looked like that to me. Maybe they weren't as old as I thought that they were. And the Rebbetzin, and we had a room, our family, but all we were my mother and my 2 sisters and I.
And your father?
And my father was taken to work camp. Yeah. So then we lived in this place. I have no idea how we survived, where my money got money from, because my uncles were also taken away. And so we were in this house, and every few days they would be marching, the Jews, on the street where I lived, up and down the street, and the Jews would have to go with their hands up, even children, and these Nazis, the Hungarian Nazis, who were called Nyilas,
like the Arrow Cross.
Yeah, they were standing on the sidewalks with metal pipes and hitting the Jews. So you could see blood running down from the faces, from the hands. I'm sorry, I didn't think it would affect me like this, but I haven't talked about it in a long, long time, and I thought I'm finished talking about it, so it's difficult for me. One day they came to our house and also made us walk, and one of them was hitting one of the elderly ladies who lived with us in the apartment, and he told apparently he saw her going shopping for food, and he said, "You're eating well, aren't you?" Trach. He was hitting her. without any mercy.
And this was a Hungarian.
A Hungarian, one of these Aerocross people. Yeah. So at one time, when they were marching, all of a sudden, my sisters were in the window looking down of what is happening. All of a sudden, we see a whole group is standing in front of our house and pointing at our window. Very soon, an SS came in a black outfit. I remember him very well. And he came and said to us that we were threatening the people of the Iron Cross. And my sisters and two other girls from the building were taken away. I was left with my mother and for a little while. And then every day they would come and take more people away. And then the last time that they came, they lined us up in the yard. You know, in Hungary, I don't know now, but the buildings were around, there was a courtyard.
In the middle.
In the middle. So we were gathered there, and they were taking away my mother, and she held on to me, but one of the soldiers took his gun and hit her with the gun and separated me from her. He wouldn't let me go with her. She had no choice. So I was left alone without anybody because all the ladies from my apartment were taken and my mother, but there were still a few Jews left in the building. So I went back to the apartment because I was so small, I guess I didn't realize how serious it was. So I was for a few days by myself in the apartment, and then a neighbor realized that I'm alone, so she came and she took me, and I was with her for a while, and then they closed down this house. They said, we all have to move out. So this lady took me with her. She had a certificate to the protected houses, you know, the Wallenberg houses, and that was right next door to our building. And she kept me. She looked after me. And I don't know how, because we never discussed it, but my sister found me. And then she was taken in also. So this lady, her name was Erdei, and she was a complete assimilated Jew. She probably didn't even know that she was Jewish until Hitler told her that she was Jewish. And her whole family was taken away. The two girls that went with my sisters were her daughters. And then a bomb fell on this house, and it was an incendiary bomb. So there was a big fire, and we had to escape. You know, there's a lot more stuff that was happening there, but I don't want to go into all of it because it will take too long.
No, whatever you remember.
No, but after a while, the basements of these buildings were the what do you call the miklatim?
It's like a shelter.
The shelter, and in Hungary the buildings are connected. There is no space between them, so there was like a door painted on that you could take. I'm forgetting words. To go through the other house that wasn't burning, but it took too long. So I said to my sister, "We're going to die here," and we decided to go through the yard. There were logs falling, and it was very scary. We got out on the street, and I said to her, "But we are not allowed to be on the street because we are Jews." And for some miracle, a Hungarian soldier went by, and we asked him if he could take us to to the ghetto. And he agreed. So we went into the ghetto, and it was just a very scary place because that was being bombed also. So when we got into the ghetto, the first thing that I saw was a store where there were naked bodies that were put like logs, this way and this way. You can imagine how scary that was. And then there were it was a Russian airplane, I remember, very low. We could even see the pilot, and he was shooting at us. And my sister said she had some blankets with her, so she put me against the wall, and she put the blankets on me to save me from the shooting. I pushed her away, and I said, if you die, I won't survive without you. So anyway, we found a place to stay, and my sister decided to go and look for something when I fell asleep, because I didn't let her go from me. And she found my mother. And then we moved together to our own house, because it was in the ghetto, to our own apartment in the ghetto. And we were there until the end of the war.
And
but
what about your other sister?
Pardon me?
Your other sister?
The sister, yeah.
But the other sister, you had two sisters?
The other sister was taken to concentration camp. This one, somehow, again, I don't know how she found me, how she escaped, or how my mother escaped, because they were taken to be taken to concentration camp. But somehow they survived. I don't know how.
And the sister that saved you, what was her name?
Batya.
Batya?
Yeah.
And the one who was taken to the concentration camp?
Henchi. Yeah.
And you didn't know what had happened to Henchi?
No, we didn't know until after the war. Yeah. So.
And your father, what happened to your father?
When we still lived in that Jewish house, my father came back. But it was illegal for him to be with us. Somebody told the authorities that he is with us, and they came to look for him. And in that apartment there was a storage area that was like a secret. You couldn't see it. He was hiding there, and after these people left, he decided not to stay with us anymore, because he said he's putting all these women in danger. So he went to where the Jewish agency was. There they collected men. Men were living there, and then they were taken to concentration camp. So I decided to go and visit my father. You know, I told you that I was very free. I didn't ask anybody where to go. I went by myself. My mother didn't even know where I was. I'll tell you a little story that I hated to be locked up, like we all do. So what I did, I would sneak out of the house, and on the corner of my street, there was a lady selling newspapers. I made friends with her, and I helped her sell newspapers, calling out the names of the newspapers. And my mother would hear my voice calling, and she told me, they are going to kill you, because it didn't matter that I was a small child. But I wasn't afraid. I also, you know, we had the star, so I would take off my jacket and just walk. And if I went by a church, I learned to make the cross. So I was a really kind of wild kid that they didn't want to control me. I was independent. So I went to see my father, and he wasn't there anymore. He was taken away, and we never heard from him again.
And you never saw him again?
No.
Do you know what happened to him?
No, we don't know. We looked for him. You know, after the war, you could go to the Red Cross, and they would try and find relatives. But they never found my father. And so somebody said that he was taken to Russia, and I'm sure that my father was a very quiet, shy man, and if you weren't aggressive, you didn't survive. Yeah. So I'm sure he didn't survive. For instance, my sister, who was in the concentration camp, she said that she tried to be invisible, because I asked her, and she said that, which is impossible, but you can be invisible. So she tried to be invisible so that she made herself not noticeable. So she said that's how she survived, but she never told me the whole story.
Do you know which concentration camp she went to?
No, I didn't know that either, but I know that she was during that time that the Germans came into Hungary until the end of the war. She was in 3 concentration camps. She was on one of the death marches. Yeah. And so.
Did you ever hear her speaking to your mother about her?
No, we never talked about anything about this. Also, I wasn't very much with my mother. For instance, once the war was finished, my mother went to look for a cousin of mine. Yes, one of her brothers came back, and he asked her to go because he sent his son to Yugoslavia to survive there. And so he asked her to go and pick him up, so that because it was more dangerous for a man to go. And she left us alone. She left me with my sister, Batya, alone. And we started school. And so I found a group that said that they are going to Israel. And I wanted to go to Israel, to Eretz Israel. So I told my sister, let's go. Not only are we going to Eretz Israel, but we'll also have food to eat. And she said, my mother will be upset. I said, but she left us. And I went with the group, and she didn't. For 3 months, they didn't know where I was.
You went with the group?
Yeah. And then I decided, I already knew how to write a little bit. I decided to send them a postcard where I am, and my mother and sister came and picked me up because they said that my sister came back from concentration camp. So I went with them, and again, my mother took the sister from the concentration camp to a place where she could fatten her up because she was skin and bone.
Do you remember seeing your sister?
Yes, sure.
How was the reunion?
She, well...
It must have been so emotional.
Yes, it was, but what I most remember about my sister, that her hair was cut, that she, you know, they shaved her hair. I was very happy that she came back, and my mother took her to a place where she could eat. We didn't have food. All we had is a big sack of flowers that they found in a store somewhere. And what my mother would make, she would mix it with, she mixed it with water, and she fried it in a frying pan, just like that, without anything. And that was our food. So she took my sister, I don't know where to, because I didn't ask. And I said to Batya, I said, let's go to this place, it's wonderful. I loved it when I was there. I really, really loved it because we had food, we had fun. It was just great. It was a collection of young children and older people. It was the organization of Dror Habonim, which is...
it's a youth movement.
Yes, it was.
Was it in Budapest as well?
Well, that's where we came from Budapest.
But where you were with this group, it was also in Budapest?
No, it was in a place called Szeged.
In Szeged?
Szeged. And it was beautiful there. And we had lots of fruit and vegetables and lots of fun, and learned songs. And I remember they gave Hebrew names to all the girls, to all the people, I mean. And I wanted to be called Shoshana. And they said, no, that's already taken. We will call you Rachel. That was my name. So.
And Rachel, how old were you at this time, after the war?
8. This was right after.
And you went by yourself?
By myself, with the group. But then, when I came back the second time, when my mother took my sister to, so she'll recover, I said to my sister Batya, here you go again. My mother left us, come with me to Szeged. No. So we already started school, and in the school they told us, if we can, to collect money for poor people.
Was it a Jewish school?
Yes.
In
the school
Budapest?
Opened again, yeah. The same school where I went. And so, I don't know, actually, after the war, our house became like a train station. One person told the other that they can come like a station where you could sleep over to continue to go to look for whoever survived. So I collected quite a bit of money. I mean, it wasn't a lot, but it was enough. And I decided that I'm not going to give this money to anybody. I'm going to use it to go back to Szeged. And all by myself, I took the train to Szeged. And it took me, I don't know how long it takes on a regular day, but it took me a week to get to Szeged back again, all by myself.
And you were only 8?
I was only, yeah.
And you didn't tell your sister or your...
Well, I told my sister to come with me, but she said, well, my mother will be upset. And I said, she wasn't upset to leave her. I mean, I told her, it's not right that she left us, that it wasn't in these words. I don't remember the exact words, but I said, we are left alone, so. But the second time when I went wasn't nice anymore. The anti-Semitism came back. They would throw stone at our buildings. It was cold. We didn't have any more food. It was really not nice anymore. So I was glad when they came, because they knew where I went. So I was glad when my mother and sister came to pick me up.
Was your mother very cross with you?
No, not at all. Not at all. They were happy to find me. I mean, my mother was very rarely... I didn't have a lot to do with my mother. I was very independent, and she was happy that I'm leaving her alone. Because, as I said, it was difficult for her to raise us. I don't know why, but it was. But I hardly ever lived with my mother.
And you were close with your sisters?
Very close, yeah. The Batya is the one who saved me. Batya is the one that looked after me all the time. Yeah, so I lived with her in Canada. For 8 years in her house, yeah. So what else can I tell you?
So now you went back to Budapest with your mother and your two sisters?
Okay. So while I was in Szeged, a man who supposedly was the leader of our group, he came to visit, and he found out that I speak Yiddish. So that was a wonder to him, because there weren't any Yiddish-speaking children left from our area. They were all murdered. And he talked to me, and he asked me if I like it. I said, I love it here. There's only one problem. They don't say Modiani. So he loved that. And after a while, I heard that he came to Budapest with a group, that he's taking them to Eretz Israel. So I went to talk to him, and I said, I'd like to go with you to Eretz Israel, but I have two sisters. Could you take them? Could you take us with you? And he agreed. So I went with this group. I was the youngest. The youngest that was there was 16 years old. I was 8. And I was with this group for 2 years, and we went to Germany. It's a whole big story.
And your mother and your sisters?
With my sisters. I went with my sisters with this group.
And what happened to your mother?
She stayed in Budapest.
And she allowed the sisters to go?
Yes, sure. Yeah. I told you.
So what did she do in Budapest by herself?
I have no idea. I have no idea what she did. But we traveled, of course, on the trains, and in order for us not to be caught, it was all illegal. For instance, we were supposed to be Greek. We had Greek passports. And so when a conductor came, or a ticket person came, we would say the prayers, so pretend that that's Greek. Can I just come back? We were traveling, and we stopped in a few places. We stopped in Bratislava, and then in Prague. In Prague we stayed a little while. Actually, we celebrated Christmas there. There was a Santa Claus, and he took me on his knees, and I had no idea what that is. But that was one experience that I remember about a Santa Claus. From Prague.
In Prague, did you go to the shul or the Jewish area?
Yes, we went to the Old Nye Shul to visit. We went to a palace to see a palace, and we went to the bridge where they have Jesus and Kriyat Shema under it. So we knew that story about the Jesus and Kriyat Shema. From there, we traveled to a place called Ash. And I remember getting to Ash, where there was a big snowstorm, but it was the kind that was wet, that pierced your face. It was like glass. And we stayed overnight there, and then the next day we were crossing over the mountains to Germany. We were given new outfits, new shoes. Of course, they didn't have my size. I was wearing a size 5 or 6, but it was a boot, so I was able to walk, and the snow reached up to my knees. I thought that we did something very heroic, that we, secretly, but my sister said later, no, the guards were paid so that they will let us through. And when we came to Germany, they refused to give us trains. We were 250 people. They refused to give us trains. So somehow somebody connected American soldiers, and they came. So the wife of the leader caught on to my hands. She went to one of the Germans there and she said, "Look at this child. You murdered all her family. You have to give us a train." She started yelling. But at the end, the American soldiers arranged for us on the trip, but we were left off in nowhere. And we started walking, the whole group, 250 people on the street, and a Jeep went by with an American Jeep went by, and they stopped because they saw us, and it turned out to be the officer in the Jeep was a Jew. And he saw me and he asked us where we are going and what. So we told him that we are trying to get to a place where we could stay. So he said, "I'll take this little child and I'll send a vehicle for you to pick all of you up." So he took me, and the first thing he did, he gave me a chocolate bar. I still remember it was Hershey's. And he asked me all kinds of questions. I thought that he was speaking German, but I think he had your Yiddish accent. My Yiddish is not a nice Yiddish, very plain. He spoke, I think, the Litvish Yiddish. It sounded like German to me. And then, sure enough, he brought the rest of my group, and they took us to a monastery. And this monastery provided us with rooms, big rooms, where we stayed. There were 30 to a room. And we stayed in this monastery for 2 years? At least a year and a half. And they couldn't stand us anymore because we didn't treat the place very nicely. So from there we moved to another camp, a DP camp. But in the meantime, my mother found us, and she joined us. And my sister Batya went back because she had a boyfriend, and she was in love. And so she went back to get married with this boy. She was 16 years old.
And where did she go? Did she go back to Budapest?
Yes, yes. And from there, they went also traveling. I think she went to Italy from there.
And did she get married in Budapest?
I don't know where she got married.
You weren't at her wedding?
No. She went back, and my sister Hanchi was with me, and my mother came in the meantime, so they didn't meet. Yeah, so they got married and went somewhere else. He was Polish. And as I said, our house was a train station, and he was one of those people who came to stay with us. And that's how they met. Actually, his sister and brother-in-law and a small child came and stayed with us until they left to go to Italy. I didn't know them because I was in Szeged, and then I met Anchel, who wrote a book. I have his book. And I have pictures there maybe, yeah. So we were in this monastery, and then we moved to another place.
When you were in the monastery,
yeah, we had nothing to do with the nuns.
They didn't ask you to go to church, or you didn't have to?
No.
It was separate?
This was, I think, now that I think about it, they probably rented it to the ANRA. You know that ANRA. So,
in the beginning, they helped them.
Isn't that? But it was different letters. My son pointed out that it's not the same letters. ANRA supported us, and there was another organization, Hayas Haya supported
I
us.
think the joint.
The joint, yeah. So they probably got paid. I didn't think about it until now.
And do you remember the nuns? Do you remember seeing the nuns?
I saw the nuns, but we were completely separate. The only thing that our group used was their kitchen, but we had nothing to do with them. They were agricultural nuns, and they also had a school, but it was a village. It wasn't a city. It was beautiful there.
And what did you do during the day? Did you...
Nothing. I never went to school.
Did you learn Hebrew or did you...
No, but I asked somebody to... I knew how to read Hungarian, so I asked somebody to put down the Hebrew letters and to put the sound, the sound. And that's how I learned to read Hebrew by myself. Yeah.
But what did the group do?
Nothing. Sorry, that was not true. Actually, they learned trades. There were people who were older, and there were electricians, there were shoemakers, dressmakers. There were a few trades that actually the girls learned to sew. But the boys, when they came here, they had a trade.
And did you learn any?
No, I didn't learn anything. So while I was there, my mother decided to take me, because they were all, the youngest was 16, so that I will go to school. So she took me to a place called Ansbach. But Ansbach, it was kids. All of them were Hungarian kids. So one building was for Dror Habonim, and another building was Shomer HaTzair, which I don't know to this day what the difference is between Shomer HaTzair. They had the same philosophy, I think. So I was there for a little while, and then my mother decided that it wasn't good, that I need to be in a real Jewish place. So she came and she took me to a place called Ulm, which is a famous city where what's the name of that general? They called him, actually he was in charge of all the military in the Middle East. That's where he was born. Anyway, I forgot his name. And
Rommel?
Rommel, that's right, yeah. That's his birthplace. And that's where I stayed. All these kids were all Polish Jews, kids. They were my age, but they all spoke Polish, only Polish. A little bit of Yiddish, but mostly even the teachers were speaking Polish. So, but I stayed there and I learned quite a bit of Polish.
And these were survivors?
These were all survivors, yeah. But orphans that had no families.
And did you make friends?
No, because they called me the Hungarian. So
And Yiddish? They didn't know any Yiddish?
They spoke Yiddish, but they preferred Polish. So just like Jews in Hungary, they prefer Hungarian. Anyway, I was there for a little while, and then my mother came and said, listen, our group is going on Aliyah. I'll take you with me. And we were preparing in this place also to go on Aliyah. So I said, but I already am here, and they already gave me equipment. How can I leave? I can't leave and go with you. She insisted, and then she took me, and we lost our way, but they knew that we were on our way back to my Holzhausen group, so they went looking for us on the road, and they found us. I don't know how that happened, but it happened. So they took me to Munich, and there I went into an office, and I see my group from Ulm, and I'm from Dror Rabbanim. And he says, this is the mechanical from Holzhausen, that was the name. And I'm embarrassed because they are Goyim in comparison to Ulm. Ulm was a Gouda. So I hear them say, Pach, Pach, Mala Majarka. Look, there's the little Hungarian. So I was hiding from them all the time. Anyway, my group went and we ended up in France, in a very, very beautiful place. Probably the Riviera, but I'm not sure. I don't know what the name was or whatever, but it was a gorgeous place. We stayed there for about a month, and then one evening they came, told us to pack, and we are ready to go. And
you were together with your mother?
No, with my sister.
Your sister. And, yeah. And your mother, where was she?
She was in another place. I guess our group was divided. We went to one place in France, and they went to another. So we were ready to go. They loaded us onto trucks that were covered, because I guess it was a secret that we were going. And we traveled all night, and then we came to the ship. And there's a whole line of people lining up, going on to the ship. It was endless. And as we walk up what do you call it, the plank. The plank, there's my mother. So luckily we were able to be together on the ship. The way that they were able to put in so many people, they made shelves. That was our bed, just like you see the famous picture. There's a famous from concentration camp, shelves. That's how it looked. And we were very lucky because we had a window. We were near a window. And it was, in the summer. And it was a hot summer. Can you imagine the people who were in the hall or inside? I don't know how they survived, because I remember the water running down, just like water. That's how hot it was. So this was the Exodus, an endless row of people marching up. It took them quite a while until we were loaded, and then they started moving out.
Do you remember what date it was?
No, I don't remember the date, but I think it was Tammuz in the Hebrew calendar. I don't remember at that time.
It's 1948.
47.
In 47.
Yeah.
It's still under the British mandate. Palestine is under the British mandate.
So what happened, the British found out about the ship, and they asked the French government to stop us. 4,500 people on the ship. So, but France refused. They also refused to take us out of the port. You need a tugboat, and they didn't provide a tugboat. But, I found out later about this ship. This was bought in America by Jewish boys, I don't know how many, and they renovated it to pick up this many people. And they were all, the leaders were American boys, so they somehow navigated the ship and were able to leave the port. And when we were on the sea, immediately we could see ships following us. And every few days, it took, I think, about 10 days to get to Palestine. And all through the travel, we were told, asked if we need anything, that they can help us. Anyway, as we got to the borders of so-called Palestinian waters, they told us to turn back because we are illegal. We can't go in. And when we didn't, they attacked us. There were, I think, 4 warships rammed us from all sides. The ship was shaking, and we were fighting them. The young people on the ship, not children, but my sister, for instance, was asked to go on deck, and she was given weapons. The weapons were potatoes, cans. That's what we threw at them. And they shot at us. They killed 2 young boys who were the only survivors of the Exodus. And the captain was also, he was attacked, and I think they beat him, and he also died. And there were, I read later, about 150 injured people on the Exodus that they injured. They jumped on our ship, and they made us get off the ship and sit on the, I forget words again, on what is it called when you're...
It's by the docks.
Docks, yeah.
This was in Haifa.
It was in Haifa, yeah. So we heard that they would confiscate all our stuff. So my sister made me put on clothing. And it was just unbelievably, it was hot anyway. We were sitting all day on those docks, and then this was a Friday. I remember that very well, that it was a Friday. And as the evening came, I could see on the Carmel the lights, and I was thinking, wow, if I could be there, probably all those twinkling lights are candles that are being lit for Shabbat. And it was a really difficult time for me not to be able to go in and walk around. And then we were loaded on to their ships, 3 of them. They each had a name. And they started moving, even though they know that Jews are not, to travel on. So we were on.
This was on Shabbat.
Pardon?
This was on
Shabbat. Yeah, Friday night. Anyway, we were traveling and thought we were going to Cyprus, like all the other people. And then we wake up in the morning and we're still to Cyprus. What? It takes a couple of hours to get there. And we are still on the sea. And then we realized that we're not going to Cyprus. They took us back to France, where we came from, and they wanted us to get off there. But of course we refused, and they had no choice, because I think very soon the media found out about us, and so they had no choice. So we were on these ships, and there were no, we were all on the floor. There was nothing there. We were like this, like sardines together, families. There was no privacy. It was just awful. For the adults especially, no privacy, nothing. We were all just, it was just terrible.
Did you have enough food?
Well, in the beginning we didn't. They gave us food with worms, you know. There was, what is that called? Yeah, in the beginning. But when we docked in France and they found out about us, so they loaded, we had, I remember, tuna. For the first time I had tuna, and there were fresh vegetables and fresh fruit. But you can imagine that when people are so crowded together, there are fights. So whenever there was a fight or screaming, remember these were all Holocaust survivors, so many of them had nightmares, and they were screaming out in their sleep. So the soldiers would come with guns and pointed at us because they thought that we were creating a riot. Many times we were fasting. We by not accepting their food. So we were on these ships for I think a month or a month and a half on the sea. And what they did with my ship is they let us go on deck, but there were pipes with hot water or something, and they would heat these pipes so it would be even hotter and turn the ship always towards the sun. So, and a lot of people didn't have shoes. They were barefoot. So imagine to walk on there, but you needed some fresh air. And how did we send messages when the ships turned and we were meeting with each other? We shouted to each other, "Lola read that, Lola read that." Then on my ship, there was a man. He was on a roof. You know, the washrooms were open things, but they had roofs. So he was on the roof. He needed to transfer some information to another ship. So he pretended to fall into the sea. And I guess when they asked him where he came from, he went to that ship where he was supposed to. So there were things like that. Also, we had a couple who were, he was a poet and she was a singer, and she could compose music. So they composed a song. Exodus has an anthem. So we were for about a month and a half on these ships, and then they saw that we were not getting off, so they decided to take us back to Germany because they knew we all came from Germany. And so we went through, we docked in what is that place called? Again, I forgot the name. I will remember maybe. We docked there, and there the soldiers changed, and some Scottish soldiers came up with their skirts. That was very strange to us. It was and they had the berets with the pump on. So that was very funny to us. And so it was becoming really bad because we went through the English Channel, and it was very, the sea was very...
it was very rough.
Yeah, it was rough to go through there. And then we docked in Hamburg. And there they forced us off the ships. But my ship, we were told not to resist. We just went off. And then we discovered later that somebody put a bomb in, we put a bomb in the ship and it blew up. after we were gone. They put us on trains to take us to a camp, and these trains had barbed wires on the windows. And the camp where they took, because they divided us again in two groups, the camp where I was just like a concentration camp. They had watchtowers on each corner. They had barbed wires, and we weren't allowed to go anywhere. And every once in a while, they would send us messages, what we can do. What we were told not to give them our real name. We to make up a name. So I just realized afterwards there were a few Moroccan Jews on the ship, and one of them said that he is, what was the foreign minister? Do you remember his name? He was very hated. I remember this name, but again, with names, I keep forgetting names. Bevin. So he gave his name as Adolf Bevin. So Hitler's name and Bevin's name. And then there was the man who gave us messages, the one who spoke English, I guess, and he would say at the end of all his messages, Lo mit an Aleph. So we won't do it. Yeah.
Do you remember the name of the camp that they put you in?
No, but I have the name somewhere. Yeah, I can't remember. There was one camp, but I wasn't there, popping. And as I said, I have trouble with names. So we were there in this camp that was like a concentration camp. They were wooden structures, Trifim, where we stayed. There were 30 people, no privacy again, to our room. It was really, there were young couples. It was just terrible.
And you were with your mother?
I was with my mother and sister.
Your mother and your sister?
Yeah, and the way they put us in, there were bunk beds. That's how they could put in so many in a room. And then the winter was coming. So they couldn't leave us there because there was no heating. It was all wooden structures. So they took us to a place that was a military camp, and there we were. Most of the year that we were there, we were in that camp, and there they didn't watch us anymore. But we couldn't go anywhere. So after a while, we heard on the radio that there was, we heard Ben-Gurion talking about establishing Eretz Israel, and we knew that we have our Geulah, because we were already getting ready to go again on an illegal aliyah, and then this came. So it was, you can imagine what a happy place this became. Also here they kind of created schools, but my teacher, all he did was tell us stories about Herschel Ostropolo. But it was fun, because they were funny stories. And I didn't learn very much, but I did teach myself how to ride a bike. I was borrowing all the time somebody's bike and flying all over the camp with the bike. What else can I tell you? So once the country was declared, we were told that the Exodus had a lot to do with the votes in the UN, because people were very upset that Holocaust survivors were being sent back to to Germany.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and so many, and this was the first time that there were babies, there were old people, there were a mixture of population, and also I forgot to mention that on the ship, 2 ladies gave birth, and one of the ladies lost her child. It died. So the whole world was very upset about what they did to us, that they kept us on the sea for so long, and then they put us in concentration camps again. And France wanted to give us citizenship, and Sweden wanted to give us citizenship. Can you imagine being in Sweden now? This wonderful place where this woman, this girl, who is against us completely. So then we were able to go legally to Israel. Yeah, and that's the story of the.
And how did you get to Israel? Did they provide you with a ship to go?
I don't know how the others, but I, with my family, went on the first ship that Israel bought.
So already the state was established. This was already after May.
Yes, we came in the middle of the war. I forgot to tell an interesting story. While we were on the ship, they came, newspaper people came onto our boat, and doctors came to our boat. So all of a sudden there were 2 people in white coats, and all of a sudden I see that they are sitting next to, they are throwing off their white coats, and they are sitting next to me. It turns out that these were shlichim to tell us what to do. And they were right next to me, so one of them gave me a coin of, I think it was 25 cents. And when we came here and we were docked in Haifa and went off the ships, I bought an arctic with it. And I'm sorry to this day that I spent my coin. That could have been a real historical piece. Yeah. So, and then again, when we came here, we were in a Beit Olim, and a man came and told my mother that if I lied and said that I'm a yetomah, that I could go to a Mossad, and that's what she did. She told me I can't tell anybody that I have a mother or sisters, and I was taken to another camp, and there they asked me where I want to go, whether I want to go to Mizrahi or Aguda, and it was a horrible place. I wanted to get out of there, so I said whoever comes first, and it was Aguda, and I wasn't happy with Aguda.
It's very religious.
Yeah, so no, it wasn't a religion because I was religious anyway. It was where I was that it was not nice to be there. Yeah, so I was in Aliyat HaNoar for a few years, and then my sister Batya went to Canada, and she took me to be with her because I had no home here.
And your mother stayed here?
My mother got married again, and she was supposed to take me and live with them, but she didn't. So I was really, after a while, I was on the street. And I wrote to my sister, and she took me to Canada, and most of my life I lived in Canada.
And your mother, when she got remarried, did you go to the wedding?
I didn't even know that she got married. I was just told after she got married that she got married.
And her husband, was he a survivor as well?
Yes, he was a survivor, a very nice man, but there was no connection between us. He was a really, if he could, I shouldn't say this, but he was a very, very nice man. But I don't think my mother wanted me, and I wouldn't have lived with her anyway.
So how old were you when you went to your sister?
Well, I was 14, I think. Yeah. So, anyway, I don't know what else to tell you. I was in Canada, and I got married there, and I had 2 children.
Cool. Rachel, can I ask, when you were in with the youth, staying with the other Olim, the children in the youth Aliyah,
Yeah.
how did you react with the other children? Did you make friends with Israeli children?
I did. No, that's one thing that I just thought about it not long ago. We went to the regular school. We went to Beit Yaakov. And with the Israeli kids, the Sabras.
Could you speak Hebrew at this time?
We learned so fast you wouldn't believe it. The first year we were speaking to each other only Hebrew. Nobody, there was a girl who came, I was the translator to the Hungarians. And then there was a Russian girl also was put on me because I could speak to her a little bit, from the Ukrainian. But the kids, the Israeli kids, had nothing to do with us. I was just thinking about it. They could have invited us for a Shabbat. They could have made friends with us. They didn't. They looked down upon us.
And you felt it? You could feel it?
I didn't care because I hadn't, we were a group together. We were all with the same background. Many of the kids didn't even know their names. They were given names. That's how, because they were picked up from Poles or Hungarians these kids were hiding in these places.
Monasteries, a lot came from where
there were monasteries, yes, but also farmers would keep kids. So I know there was a girl, we called her Lala, which is a doll in Polish, because she didn't have a name. A lot of them were complete orphans.
And where was the Beis Yaakov? In which part of the country?
Petach Tikva. I was in Petach Tikva. But then at the end, for 1 year, I was moved to a place called Ramat Hadar, where we learned half a day and we worked the fields half a day because we had to supplement what they gave us from Aliyat HaNoar. So we grew corn and put tomatoes and cucumbers and peanuts. Wow. and we sold those.
And Rachel, can I ask, when you were with the other children,
yes,
did you ever speak about your experiences?
No.
And did
Never.
any of the kids speak about being in a monastery or being with non-Jewish families?
We never talked about it, no.
And the teachers didn't ask you?
No. It was the other way around. There was one teacher who my class didn't like her and they made fun of her. She actually was a Holocaust survivor, but she wasn't well mentally. I didn't know at the time what that meant, but she was nervous and she was always yelling at us. And when I felt very sorry for her, and I didn't participate in it. But when she came in, they would go, and I thought that it was a horrible thing to do. So she picked on me. I just sat there. I didn't say anything, which was also wrong, not to say something. But she picked on me, she threw me out of the class. And that did a lot of damage to me, because I thought I didn't deserve it, because I didn't do anything. So things didn't go well after that in this place. And yeah, so.
And during this time, did you go visit your mother?
Yes, sure. I went to visit my mother. I spent Shabbat with her. She would come and visit me. She used to bring eggs, raw eggs, and make me drink it. 10 at a time.
And were you happy that you were in Israel? That you were
very, very. I never wanted to leave. I went for a visit. My sister paid. At that time, you took ships. I was very privileged. I went with El Al to Canada.
Can I ask, why did your sister go to Canada?
Because she figured they were living in a real hole in Tel Aviv. One room. It was really the living room, the dining room, the bedroom was one room. They had a little kitchen, and off the kitchen was the washroom. And she had a baby, and the baby became sick with bronchitis and all kinds of trouble. And she said to her husband that they will never get out of that kind of life. And he had a sister in Canada who was allowed to sponsor a relative. So she sponsored them.
And her husband, was he Canadian?
Yes. Actually, I'll tell you, which I don't talk about it very much, he was a convert. But he didn't convert for me. He converted before I even met him. So, yeah.
And your sister's husband?
My sister's husband was a Polish Jew. He came from a very religious family. His father was a shochet. And they were 9 children, most of them girls. So, let me see. I think 5 girls survived, and my brother-in-law. His parents didn't, of course. Yeah, they were taken to Majdanek. He knew. He escaped, and he became a soldier. After the war, he joined, I think, the Bricha, and he rescued a lot of children. He escaped, and he and a sister and brother-in-law survived on a farm in a hole in the ground. Actually, a hole in the ground. They would be there all day, and at night, only at night they could go out a little bit. His sister had a baby, and she gave it to the farmer, and the farmer claimed that the baby died, but they never believed him. So.
And she never saw the baby again?
No. She didn't. Another sister was hiding as an Aryan in Warsaw, and she had a child. And they went on the tram, the streetcar, and the child fell underneath. And of course, he had Brit Milah, and she was with a whole group of Jews hiding, and she had to watch them take this child, and she couldn't say a thing because she didn't want to give away the others. So, and she always thought that her child survived, but he had no legs, and she caught on to some kind of a priest who was also legless, and he said he doesn't know anything about it, but she didn't leave him alone. Anyway, it was a very sad story that with her, that She couldn't believe that her child died. Yeah. And these sisters, none of them had more than one child.
And Rachel, your sister that got married,
Pardon?
did your sister get married in Israel?
My Israeli...
Your sister, when she got...
Henshi. Yes.
She got married in Israel?
She got married in Israel.
And how was the wedding? You remember her wedding?
Yes, it was in the apartment where they lived. You know, at that time, there were the Arab houses, so families were given a room in an Arab house. So that's where she got married. And she had a wedding, she had a gown, and she had a crown, and I even have a picture where she is, where I stand there at her wedding. Yeah.
Was it a very joyous, very happy occasion?
Not really, no. It was, I don't know, it wasn't really, I don't think was happy either.
And
it wasn't a happy marriage.
And when did you see your other sister who had got married when she was 16?
She was here. They were here. So I saw her, but in what year did she go? I think 1950. She went to Canada from here. And I saw her when she took me there. Yeah. I was very close with this sister because she's the one who saved me.
That was...
Batya.
Batya.
Yeah. She actually put her life in danger in order to find me and to look after me. She is the one who looked after me. And even took me to Canada, and I lived with her.
And was it difficult to leave Israel when you went?
I went there for a visit, for a month. My sister said that she wants me to come for a visit. But when I got there, she said, I spent $2,000, which was a fortune then. You could buy a house with that money. You can't go back. I had to appreciate that because she went all out for me. But then they were doing already not badly when I came to Canada. They even had a house, and my brother-in-law had a business which was doing well. So I was she already had 3 children. When I arrived there, she had a son who was 2 days old. She was still in the hospital when I came. Yeah, so he was my baby. I looked after him a lot.
And was she in Toronto?
Yes. Yeah, that's where we lived, in Toronto.
And when you went, your mother was okay that you had left Israel?
Sure. Well, I didn't live with her. Why would she care? But she came to Canada for my nephew's bar mitzvah, and she came for my wedding to Canada.
And can I ask, and your other sister, when did you see her again?
My other sister, I saw her when I got married. A year after I got married, we came for a visit.
And where was she living?
She was living in a place called Beit Lechem HaGlilit. So that's up north. It was very nice, a moshav.
And you were close with her as well?
Yes. My sisters were very good to me. Yeah. Because I was the baby. I was kind of a toy to them.
And can I ask, when you went to Toronto, did you then go to school?
No.
You never went to school?
No. I went to school here, but not in Toronto, no. I'm self-educated.
And how did you meet your husband?
There were a group of Israelis in Toronto, and we got together all the time. And one day I made a party for them, and somebody brought him to the party. He was learning Hebrew with this friend. That's how I met him. Yeah. He liked me, and he, yeah.
And how many years did you live in Canada?
I think 60 years, so maybe more. Yeah.
And when did you come back to Israel?
I came here in 2013. 2013. Is that? I'm not sure. No, 2012, right?
And Rachel, you were happy to come back?
Yeah.
It's a different Israel.
It was different. It was different. It wasn't the same Israel that I came here, where everybody was almost equal. You know, at that time, there were no people who were billionaires or millionaires even. People were kind of equal. It was lovely. I just loved this place, and I really didn't want to leave, because it was my dream as a little girl. When I was sitting in Budapest in the basement because they were bombing, I was talking to one of my neighbors, telling her the story about Mashiach. You know, that Mashiach will come on a donkey, and we will roll to Israel. And she was amazed, because, you know, this was an assimilated Jew. And she enjoyed my stories. Each time we were in the basement, I was telling her about Jewish things, about how my dream is to come to Eretz Israel, even at 6 years old, at 8 years old. Yeah, so, yeah, I was a Zionist at a very young age.
And Rachel, I have to ask you, I'm sure everybody's asked you, when Leon Uris wrote the book Exodus, did you read the book?
Who wrote the book?
Leon Uris, when he wrote the book Exodus.
No. But of course I read it, and I saw the movie.
And what did you think about the movie or the book?
I thought it was funny to call it Exodus, because it was a complete different story. And the joke is, everybody asks me, were you friends with Paul Newman? So,
but that book had that movie had such a profound impact on...
It did, and people believe that is the story of the Exodus. As you can see, it's a completely different story. Yeah, so... they have the music, when I put, in the beginning, when I was looking for the song of the Exodus, and I put in Exodus anthem, it came up with the movie theme. Yeah. So
I just want to ask, Rachel, what message do you impart to your children and grandchildren and to the future generations?
I really don't know what I can tell them. I just think that we should hope that things will get better, and that maybe one day we will really have the Geulah in this country, and that they will be safe and be able to live their lives in comfort like other people, other nations, and not to worry about security all the time, and this anti-Semitism that is going on in the world, that I actually believe that it will return. Even in the 60s, when they were starting to deny the Holocaust, I said, there we go. It's beginning again. It took a while, but now it's in the open, the hatred for us, all the lies that are for us. So we have to be strong and believe that things will get better, and that really Mashiach will come.
That's so true. And how do you feel about Canada? Canada was once So pro-Israel, and it was such a close friend, and today it's changed terribly.
When I got there, it was like a Gan Eden. Everybody was telling me a joke that Moshe had a problem with his...
He was stuttering.
He was stuttering, and by mistake it was Canaan instead of Canada.
Yeah.
So that was a joke that was going on, and it was a Gan Eden. It was good to Jews, not that we were loved, but it was hidden. And the prosperity that you should see, when I came to Toronto, it was a village. And in no time, it became a big city with high-rises. There were no high-rises when I got there. And who built them? It was the Jews and also the Italians. Those were the people who built up Canada. And now they have their prime minister. Unbelievable.
And also in the streets with the protests and...
But he can prevent it, but he doesn't. And he gave them a Palestine, he gave them a country.
But you're happy you came back to Israel?
I'm very happy. I'm very happy. It was difficult in the beginning, you know, when you're a certain age, it takes time to get you. But I was lucky that I was able, you know, to have my own place.
So I just want to thank you. I'm so grateful to you. If I can just... there are no words to thank you enough, Rachel. I'm so grateful being in your home and you relating the most amazing story, and it's just witnessing history. But there were so many miracles. You went through so many miracles.
It's true, very true, yes.
Wow.
My whole being is a miracle, I think, that I'm still around at my age and I'm still functioning. So that's, I thank God for that.
And Rachel, could you give all of Am Yisrael, a blessing?
Yeah. What can I say? May Hashem help us here in this country to have some peace and quiet, and for our children especially, for them to be in security and prosper and have big families. That's what we need, a lot of children, which would make us a big country.
You know, we might be a small country, but we're a big family.
We sure
we're a very
are,
big
yeah.
family.
When we need to be together, we are together, even if there are voices that are separate from us, we still are together, and that's very important. I'm looking at people in the world, and no matter what, we are a family, a huge family. This war proved it, how united we are, even though with all the demonstrations we are still, in my opinion, we are still united.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I'm so grateful to you.
There is nothing to be grateful. I'm glad I could do this.
So Rachel, if you could explain, this is from...
This was written by my leader, whose name, we called him Anshul, but he is Asher Einhorn. After we were on the Exodus, I didn't see him because he was in a different camp, but he is the one who who looked for me. I spoke Yiddish to him, and he liked that, and he accepted me to his group to go with him to Eretz Israel. Well, this is his history. that he is writing it. But see, it's falling apart. He was from a place called Terneva, I think, from where I have to find the pictures from Holzhausen. See, it shows here where they were learning trades. There are classes where...
This was also in the DP camps?
This was, yeah. No, well, we weren't in a camp, we were in that... In the monastery. Here's the picture of the Exodus. After it was rammed and ruined. See? Well, there's a picture where I am. Hey, where is it?
So that's Rachel, this is the book of Ansho.
Yeah.
It's Einhorn Asher.
Yeah.
And inside the book, it's amazing. He has pictures of Holzhausen. This is where the monastery was in Holzhausen.
Right, yeah.
And the other pictures where he has a picture where you are at the bottom.
Yeah.
Is this with the monastery when you were?
Yeah, I'm not sure. We were close to a displaced persons camp called Landsberg. It was 8 kilometers away from Holzhausen, so we would go there quite a bit.
And here you at the bottom in the picture, at the bottom.
I think that was, we were marching at night. It was a night outing of some kind. Yeah.
And Asher was the one that convinced you that you should go to Eretz Yisrael.
No, he didn't. I convinced him to take me to Eretz Yisrael. Because all the people, as you can see, they were all a lot older than I was when he agreed to take me. Yeah.
And you were the youngest?
I was the youngest, yeah, except for his baby. His wife had a child, and she was younger. Yeah. I mean, they both had a child together. He lost his family. He had, I think, he was married, and he had 4 children or 3 children, and they perished also in Auschwitz. Mm. So he remarried. He married this woman. Her name was Tova. She was a redhead, really, really red. She was from Poland.
And inside his book, he's got a picture of the Exodus.
Yeah.
And then he shows here also a picture with the British with the barbed wire.
Yeah.
It's so inhumane to take you back to Germany into a camp with barbed wire.
That's what everybody said, you know, that how could they do that to us? Not only that, they were shooting. My mother said, she was saying, I hear shooting. I couldn't believe it. I mean, everybody couldn't believe it, but...
And people died.
Pardon?
People died.
Yes,
they actually killed.
I told you 2 boys were murdered.
And the anthem of the Exodus, could you sing it? It would be such
I'll sing one, the first one, okay? Let's see if I can do it. Soll Herren die Welt, soll sie gaffen, verwunder, und flackern soll wie a Flamm. Der Jid von Exodus, 4500, muss kämpfen auf Quales von Jam. Es kommt von Gehennem, von Hass und von Gas. Der Jid von Exodus, Jetziat Dashas, geht zum Befreiung, zum Heimland, zum Breg, kein Eretz Yisrael, auf lichtige Tag. That's what I
That is incredible, Rachel. That is incredible. Thank you so much. That is historic. It really is.
You really think
And
so?
you've never forgotten the words. You've never forgotten it.
Pardon me?
You've never forgotten.
No, I remember very well everything. I didn't, it's hard to tell everything. For instance, I didn't tell you, I think that's important, about as a little girl, I put on plays I organized the kids, and we put on plays. I would sing and dance and tell stories, and the people would sit on their, on their balcony and throw money. And I showed you the picture with my sisters and their friends. There, if you see the whole picture, you'll see I have a hole in my shoe. My stocking is sticking out. I made enough money to buy myself a pair of shoes. I never told you that story.
And Rachel, when you were in Toronto, you became a teacher?
Yes, I actually went to, there was a seminar for Hebrew teaching, and I did have professors from the University of Toronto who taught us psychology, and the teachers that were teaching. At that time, my school was called Talmud Torah. Later it became Associated Hebrew Schools. It was nicer when it was Talmud Torah. The teachers that were there, they were all Tarbut taught teachers. They were better than professors. They really knew their stuff. But for the English stuff, we had teachers from the University of Toronto, and I got a certificate from there to teach.
And what did you teach?
I taught grade 1, and the reason that I enjoyed grade 1 is because they came with nothing, right? And when they left, they knew quite a bit. Yeah.
And did you teach also Jewish history?
Well, these were little 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds. So whatever I could on their level, of course, about the Chagim and Tfilot, yes, it was, to me, it was very enjoyable because you saw from nothing that there is, because there was, I remember around Pesach, I would ask them to write about how they spent Pesach, and there were whole stories in Hebrew written to me. To me, that was so satisfying. It was amazing to me that these little kids could learn so well. And I actually have a picture here that, remember when I came to Toronto and we went to Sharei Tefillah? Sharei Shamayim, and Professor Kadar came to talk. And there was a student of mine there, and he remembered me. I have a picture of him, but I can't find. I probably.
Rachel, you can see you were so inspirational, and your whole story and your whole life is just full of miracles and inspiration, and you are inspiration to all of us.
Well, thank you very much.
You are something so special, and we should all look up to you to try emulate. And you're amazing, and you should only have all of Hashem's blessings. And
Thank you.
Thank you so
very
much.
Yeah.
There are no words enough to thank you.
Thank.
So Rachel, this is a picture of your group in Holzhausen,
Yes.
near where you were by the monastery.
Right.
And where you're pointing, this is a picture where you are in the group.
Right.
And this picture you have.
Can you see where I am?
That's amazing. And this is before you went on the boat, before you went
That's
on
right.
Exodus.
Yeah, we didn't go from Hudson. We went from another camp because they became tired of us. I have a big picture somewhere of that, but I can't find it.
Rachel, that's amazing.
Aviva Dan. I'm originally from Mexico. I live in Toronto, and Rachel was the grade 1 teacher of my eldest daughter. That's how we met, and we just connected, and now she's family. That's me.
So as we were walking on the Midrachov, Aviva noticed, she said, look, Exodus 1947. And then she walked over to somebody who was there, I guess he was the sound man, and she told him my friend was on the Exodus. They all became excited, right?
Very
They
excited.
walked over to me and asked me questions and talked to me, and they were Germans. All of them were
It's a
German.
group called the March of Life.
Yeah. And they,
Not just Germans. They all discovered, these are younger people, they discovered they had a Nazi past. Some of them.
so anyway, they came over to talk to me, and you can imagine how I feel about Germans. So, but they seemed to be so nice that I decided to make friends with one couple. And I'm in touch with them since then.
But explain to them why they were in Israel.
They
support.
came to support us during this war. They went to different places to talk, and there were I think 200 people
200.
who came, children, and on the Midrachov, on Kikar Tzion, they put on a play about the Exodus. It was
Outside the Mashmir, yeah.
yeah, it was songs and dances that they did, and they, after it was all over, they told their story that they are descendants of Nazis, and they each said what their Nazi grandparents did. And I made friends with a couple, and I'm still in touch with them. And then one of them, I'll tell you their name, it's Carolyn and Stefan Klein is one couple, and then I made friends with their leader. I mean, she works for them. She organizes all the meetings, all the marches, and her name is Michaela Buckle. And I'm with touch with these three people every week, and sometimes more than a week, and I really love them. They are lovely people. They really support us, and their pastor also, he is the one who leads them, and he supports us. Just now, they go from place to place to talk about us. Say, for Rosh Hashanah, they had honey and apples And for Sukkot, they put up a sukkah, and on Hanukkah, they light candles. And last Hanukkah, they had a gathering where they lit the candles, and I was interviewed on their program for about half an hour. So it makes me feel better to feel better about German people who are supporting us, and they are genuinely supporting.
And tell them the story of the little girl in the play. There is a little girl in the play.
There's a little girl in the play whose name is Rosie. And my Hungarian, you had to give a Hungarian name to all the people. That was the law, in Poland and Hungary. And my name was Rosie. And she wanted to meet a Rosie from a Holocaust survivor, and she met me. So there's a pic. Last summer, a few months ago, they came and put on an exhibition, and one of the pictures on the exhibition is with the little girl who played Rosie, and I'm sitting on the Midrachov. And when they were here, they were speaking about the situation. There were people who came from all over the world. 5,000 people came. They had this event in Beit Ha'am here in Yerushalayim, and I was a guest. And there was another man from the Exodus also. They invited him, and there was, I don't remember the names, but there was a lady my age exactly. She was dancing and singing and telling her survival story. She was amazing. You should interview her. I'll find out her name, and maybe you can get in touch with her. I'll ask my German friends to do that, because I guess you want to do more. And she will be able to tell you, because she had all she was able to say is that her mother put her down from the Warsaw Ghetto. She put her down the what is it called? The sewer. She put her down the sewer, but she never got to tell us how she survived. But it would be interesting to know how she survived.
Oh, yeah, if you could do that, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I'll find out her name.
So
I have to mention something more about my survival. The lady who saved me after I was left all alone, her name is Mrs. Erdei. I don't know her first name. And she was a complete, what is the word? Assimilated Jew in Budapest. But her whole family was taken away except for her. And after the war, we found out that all of them came back to her. I think God granted her this privilege because she saved me. I guess that's my story.
It's a miracle. It was a miracle that she saved you.
It is amazing.
And it's a miracle that her family was saved.
Well, absolutely a miracle for Mrs. Erdei. This is the anthem of the Exodus. Here we go. Soll Herren die Welt, soll sie gaffen, verwunder und flackern soll wie a Flamm. Das jed von Exodus 4500, wo's kämpfen auf Quales von Jam. Es kommt von Gehennem, von Hass und von Gas, der Jid von Exodus, Jetziat Tashaz. Geht zum Befreiung, zum Heimland, zum Breck, kein Eretz Yisrael, auf flüchtige Tag. Sei ruhig, mein Volk, deine Sinn, deine Töchter, unter die Kraten verspart. Jetzt dein Namen mit Heldentum, mit echtem Mapilim von deiner Vanguard. Es kommt von Gehennem, von Hass und von Gas, der Jid von Exodus, Yetziat Tashaz, geht zum Befreiung, zum Heimland, zum Breck, kein Eretz Yisrael, auf lichtige Tag, herrscht Nächten Arois von Hitlers Ostmenschen, und kommt zu dem Greich, zu dem Breck, verjuckt hat die Menschen, unter die Twises hat Jack. So the anthem of the Exodus is about the heroism that we went through. It describes there about how we reached the shores of Israel, but we were turned back into their prisons with bars on them. And at the end it says that be relaxed, my people, because we are all heroes, and you have nothing to be ashamed of. That's the essence of the song.